So far we have covered Zoox, Xpeng, and even Apple as companies that will be potentially competing with Tesla in the future. Today we're talking about one of the biggest players that could pose a threat to Tesla in the coming future, where they are at right now, and why they're throwing shade at Tesla. It seems like every time I talk about Tesla's market cap, it gets bigger, but Tesla currently has a market cap of $834 billion at the time of filming this video, with their biggest product being electric cars, and one of their biggest potential future products being Level 5 autonomous driving. Google has a market cap just over $1 trillion. They are, of course, the world's most popular search engine, but they used to have what they called the Google Self-Driving Project, and has now become known as Waymo. They're one of Tesla's biggest competitors with self-driving technology, and they're competing with vastly different technologies, so let's get into it. Tesla recently raised the price of their full self-driving package to $10,000. This seems pretty insane, since the features that it brings are not worth that much. But the reason Tesla is charging this much is due to the potential they see in their full self-driving technology. The full self-driving feature on city streets is in very limited beta. And last we heard from Elon, he said, quote, "I'm extremely confident that Tesla will have Level 5 next year. Extremely confident, 100%. He said this in December of last year, so he's talking about this year, 2021, and about achieving Level 5 autonomy, which means the vehicle performs all driving tasks under all conditions. Zero human attention or interaction is required. You can even see a great illustration of what this means here. Level 4 is high automation with required geofencing and the option for human override. Level 5 means you can read a book, sit back, and you never need to take over." We can tell that Tesla is on the verge of something big, but is it read a book while driving big? We'll have to see. But in the meantime, there are plenty of competitors coming up, including Cruise, Zoox, and Waymo. Waymo started back in 2009, again as the Google self-driving car project. They first started with a Prius and LiDAR, expanded to other cars, and started making their own in-house self-driving sensors. They then made their own custom autonomous vehicle with custom sensors, computers, steering and brakes, and no steering wheel or pedals. This was called Firefly, and shortly after they changed their name to become Waymo. Back in 2017, they did some of their first public trials in Phoenix with no driver in the driver's seat, and opened up their own ride-hailing service in 2018 called Waymo One. It was exclusively in Phoenix, open to 400 exclusive people, and required a safety driver in the front seat to be ready to take over if needed. But it is a robotaxi network at its core. Over the last couple years, they have expanded the program, opened it up to more customers, and just recently they opened up the option to drive in a truly driverless vehicle in Phoenix as a part of Waymo One, which is still invite only. Previously, in order to drive in a truly driverless vehicle, you had to be a member of their early rider program and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Quote, "This bars them from speaking publicly when, say, one of their trips goes off course. Waymo won't say how many people or how many trips its fully driverless vehicles have made so far." So Waymo is ahead of Tesla in this regard. They already have a basic system in place providing robotaxi rides to a certain select few customers. Tesla, on the other hand, has only talked about such a network, but they are absolutely planning for it. The Model 3 and now the Model Y were specifically designed for this future purpose, coming pre-installed with an interior camera that has yet to be enabled. Many people didn't know the reason for this camera, but Elon detailed the reasoning back in 2019 with a tweet saying, quote, "It's there for when we start competing with Uber/Lyft and people allow their car to earn money for them as part of the Tesla shared autonomy fleet. In case someone messes up your car, you can check the video." He followed up saying, quote, "Only external cameras are being used right now, so internal is not enabled. When it is enabled, we'll add a setting to disable internal camera." Well, they actually did enable this camera last year with release notes saying, quote, "This update will allow you to enable the built-in camera above the rearview mirror. If enabled, Tesla will automatically capture images and a short video clip just prior to a collision or safety event to help engineers develop safety features and enhancements in the future." For privacy, the images and videos are not associated with the driver, but they're essentially there as another optional level of data collection for Tesla. I personally have mine off, and some people prefer to cover it with a laptop camera cover, just to be safe. Recently, Waymo has thrown quite a bit of shade Tesla's way, and it seems somewhat unwarranted. We'll get into why in a minute, but Waymo responded on Twitter to a message that said, quote, "Would you say that your technology is orders of magnitude more advanced than the more vocal competitor with a misleading branding?" To which Waymo responded, "Yes." We know that this is directed straight for Tesla because nobody has been more vocal than Elon Musk about self-driving. Tesla sells a full self-driving package, which has been the center of some controversy, and Elon uses the term orders of magnitude all the time. Just last week as well, Waymo put up a blog post specifically saying that they will no longer be using the term self-driving in any of their marketing, educational, or promotional materials going forward. Back in 2017, they launched a campaign to build public trust in self-driving cars, and that campaign was called Let's Talk Self-Driving. They have now renamed that campaign to be Let's Talk Autonomous Driving. They have tons of educational materials on this website, including many articles and videos about how autonomous vehicles work, think, and drive. They are clearly trying to separate themselves from Tesla's efforts since they believe that Tesla is doing what they call autono-washing. They define this as, quote, making a system appear to be more autonomous than it really is. Their blog post goes on to say, quote, some personally owned vehicles on the road today, which may be described or marketed as self-driving or semi-autonomous, depend on a human driver to take control at any moment. Research finds that human drivers operating vehicles that have been marketed as self-driving may not realize the importance of being constantly vigilant and become over-reliant on assertive features. I've talked about this in previous videos, but I do agree that Tesla could work on refining their full self-driving branding. I feel that it isn't very clear what features you are getting, but once you're in the car, you have to accept terms in order to use these features, to the point where I feel Tesla is clear that you need to pay attention. Waymo obviously does not. Tesla is currently in limited beta for their full self-driving system, and at this point it absolutely requires human attention. Elon is confident it won't need it soon, but with so many videos out there with Tesla's full self-driving needing human input, Waymo wants people to know, or at least think, that their cars are on another level, saying, quote, fully autonomous driving technology, like Waymo's, is designed to handle the entire task of driving without depending on a human driver to take control. Waymo is the first and only company to have a fully autonomous ride-hailing service available to the public today. Both Waymo and Tesla have promised a lot and delivered a little up to this point. Elon Musk promised level 5 autonomy as well as 1 million robotaxis in 2020, and of course, neither of those goals happened. At Tesla's Autonomy Day in 2019, he outlined the 2020 robotaxi plan along with some concepts of what the ride-sharing app would look like. So at that point, he was promising it coming in 2020, now it's 2021, and we can tell we're still a ways away. The beta is impressive, but definitely not robotaxi level at this point. Over at Waymo, they have been much quieter and much more closed. I mentioned their limited testing and small amount of public announcements, but back in 2017, they released a pretty bold video called Waymo's Fully Self-Driving Cars Are Here. At the beginning of the video, it says, there has never been a fleet of fully self-driving cars on public roads until now. The video shows some of these drives in Phoenix that, yes, are indeed a fleet of fully self-driving cars with no safety driver. However, Waymo has a built-in ability to have a remote safety driver as a backup. When The Verge went on a test drive back in 2019, they said, quote, these driverless cars aren't totally alone in the wilderness. Waymo has a team of remote employees that watch the real-time feeds of each vehicle's 8 cameras and can help with the push of a button if the software runs into a difficult spot and needs a human eye to figure out what's going on. Apparently, Waymo doesn't regularly use this feature at all, but it does point to the fact that their marketing was similar to Tesla's. Technically speaking, Waymo's fully self-driving cars were here in 2017, but that term is pretty vague since these cars are remotely monitored and geo-fenced to a specific area in Arizona. Only recently did they actually expand this, so that is over 3 years since they said full self-driving cars are here, and they aren't really. Tesla's full self-driving package is technically here, but it doesn't actually do full self-driving. The reason they sell it is because whenever they get there on the software end, and they're working extremely hard to get there, if you buy the package, you get the update and your car becomes fully autonomous overnight, according to Elon Musk. The main difference between these two companies is their approach to self-driving cars, or autonomous vehicles as Waymo likes to specify. In broad terms, Waymo is working with HD maps to ensure the car drives properly on routes that are pre-mapped with very detailed data of roads, intersections, and more. Tesla is doing the opposite approach, using camera data and a huge neural network to learn and adapt so that their system can respond and react in any driving situation, whether it is mapped or not, much like a human would drive. They of course have some mapping data, but it is not at all what they are focused on. When talking about this difference a few months ago, Elon said, quote, Waymo is impressive, but a highly specialized solution. The Tesla approach is a general solution. The latest build is capable of zero-intervention drives. We'll release limited beta in a few weeks. This was back in October, and they did release that limited beta, but it is very limited, as he said it would be. There's really no indication of a timeline there, and regulation will be a big obstacle. Also, when he says it is capable of zero-intervention drives, this means just that. Sometimes it has completed and is able to complete a drive without needing any human input. But it is definitely not there 100% of the time, or 99.9999% of the time, like Elon has mentioned. On top of the HD maps approach at Waymo, they also rely heavily on LiDAR. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, and it is a way of measuring 3D spaces and correlating that data with camera data to ensure the vehicle is driving properly. Back in March, Waymo unveiled the 5th generation of their full self-driving system, which they say can see a stop sign from 500 meters away. As you can see, the car is covered in LiDAR sensors. Up front, there is a long-range camera and radar. Up top, there is a 360 LiDAR system with a 360 vision system, and then there are various other perimeter LiDAR systems and additional radar systems. Their system includes 29 cameras around the vehicle, and Waymo claims that their radar are now the most advanced in any automotive system available today. Tesla has a completely different approach, because this is what Elon thinks about LiDAR, the system that Waymo is covering their vehicles with.
LiDAR is doomed, because in that scenario, LiDAR makes sense. And in cars, it's friggin' stupid. It's expensive and unnecessary, and as Andre was saying, once you solve vision, it's worthless. So you have expensive hardware that's worthless on the car.
Tesla designed their autopilot system with 360-degree visibility and about half the range of what Waymo cites, coming in at 250 meters. They use 8 cameras around the car, as well as 12 ultrasonic sensors and forward-facing radar for additional data. According to their official website, quote, "A forward-facing radar with enhanced processing provides additional data about the world on a redundant wavelength that is able to see through heavy rain, fog, dust, and even the car ahead." Notice here that it says the radar is essentially redundant, and this is something Elon has talked about, saying that having the forward-facing radar is good for the meantime, but it's really just a bonus. Their focus is completely on camera data and interpretations of that data. The ultrasonic sensors mostly come into play for detecting nearby cars coming into your lane or parking, so they don't at all do what LiDAR does for Waymo. These two companies are at the core of a big debate with self-driving cars. One side is Waymo's side, saying that LiDAR is necessary, and we're seeing that almost every other company attempting to make self-driving cars is going this direction. Waymo, Zoox, Cruise, and even Apple are using LiDAR for their systems they are developing for autonomous driving, and Tesla is really the outlier here. Elon Musk is completely confident that camera and data collection is the way to go, and for the long term, he might be right. Lex Fridman talked about this debate on Joe Rogan's podcast, and here's what he said.
So today, to build a safe vehicle, you have to go LiDAR. Tomorrow, however you define tomorrow, Elon Musk says it's in a year. Others say it's 5, 10, 20 years. Camera is the way to go.
So Tesla is attempting this long-term solution that Lex talked about. If you can collect and properly label camera data from millions of miles of driving, you can create a superior self-driving system that can handle more situations and is much cheaper to create. Of course, there is the upfront software cost, but Tesla only has to install their autopilot suite into their cars as opposed to adding very expensive LiDAR around the car like Waymo has to do. Tesla also has a huge advantage here in the fact that for data collection, they already have hundreds of thousands of autopilot-enabled cars on the road. Tesla sold 500,000 cars in 2020, and each one of these cars comes standard with Tesla's autopilot system. The system includes traffic-aware cruise control and auto steer, keeping your car centered in the lane, and every single time that a driver disengages autopilot and takes over, Tesla is collecting that data. They don't really need to fix autopilot where it already works, they need to fix it where it doesn't, and where people had to take over for it. So there are hundreds of thousands of people collecting data for Tesla and building their self-driving neural network, and many of them probably don't realize they are doing so. Then if you buy Tesla's full self-driving package, your car will also come with auto lane change, summon, traffic light and stop sign control, and the big one, which is navigate on autopilot. These features are helping even further with more complicated situations the neural network has to learn. The limited number of full self-driving beta customers testing out the auto steer on city streets feature are training this network as well. This huge advantage is what makes Elon Musk so confident that Tesla is on the cusp of achieving level 5 autonomy. They are collecting tons of data, doing tons of work labeling that data, and the improvements on their end seem to be huge. When Tesla released this full self-driving beta, they did an entire rewrite of their system, and Elon said, quote, "The full self-driving improvement will come as a quantum leap because it's a fundamental architectural rewrite, not an incremental tweak. I drive the bleeding edge alpha build in my car personally, almost at zero interventions between home and work." Now, Elon said that he is 100% confident they will achieve level 5 this year. If they truly do that, then Tesla will absolutely win. They will have beat Waymo and every other company to full self-driving or autonomous driving, and in the process, they will have built out a long-term solution that is much less expensive to implement than LiDAR is. They will also enable nearly 1 million vehicles to suddenly become fully autonomous, and nearly 1 million vehicles to suddenly have the option of joining their own ride-sharing fleet. The implications here are huge, but as we've talked about, Tesla has missed deadlines, promised a lot, and not delivered what they have promised thus far. Waymo, or Google, on the other hand, already have a robotaxi network up and working, but the real question is how much they are actually able to expand it past geofenced areas in the near future. They are focused on a robotaxi network, while Tesla has a much bigger plan and robotaxis are a part of it. Both companies think they are orders of magnitude ahead of the other, and the next year or two will show us a lot as to who is actually on the right track. Is Tesla on the right track, but it'll take them 10 years or more to actually achieve it, or will they achieve it this year like Elon says they will? Is Waymo on the right track, but it will take them 10 more years to achieve it, or will they have something huge to announce in the next year or so? I'm incredibly excited to see what happens, and overall, I'm rooting for fully self-driving cars in whatever way they are achieved. Because honestly, I want to take a nap while my car drives for me, and it seems possible in my lifetime. But what are your thoughts on this war? Do you think Tesla will come out on top or Waymo? Let me know what you think in the comments below. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanShawTech. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.